And this, he says, comes from using two actions, one against the other. I was very lucky to grow up in a society where there were no classes of any sort. Yeah. The two double action gives you the emotion of multitude.
And diet is, which we can get into.
This is the way it is for everybody. That's what the emotion of multitude is. Feeling of universality, archetypal. My concern is conversation in which I make the discoveries. I make most of my discoveries while talking, not while writing. Well, for example, when I look up the word read and find that it means to guess, I couldn't bear multi-locational art. Anything I've ever. That's fascinating.
I have no desire to move into the world that I understand so well.
So Xerox, the electric thing, is a complete revolution.
And that's precisely why
And it's away from the
I
eye.
do not wish
It's all back to the ear again.
to move into it.
It's all acoustic.
Because I understand it, I much prefer the old mildewed world of the 18th century book.
Social responsibility, instead of just a sort of a private subconscious, they are artists. Remember, an artist is primarily concerned with getting your attention. Whether he's a poet or a musician, his first wish and hope is to trap your attention. This is the first hope and wish of every advertiser. He's an artist, certainly, to that extent. He wants to shape your attention, to shape your sensibilities, to create an effect upon you. Whether you believe a word he says couldn't matter less to him. He is interested only in effects, and not in changing your opinions or thoughts about anything. And this is also true of a poet. Couldn't care less what you thought or felt about him or anything, as long as he gets his effect across. It's simply fantastic, the unconsciousness of our Western world with regard to
I had a rowboat on the Assiniboine and a sailboat on the Red River, and they were about half a mile apart. Apart. So on the way to school, I could stop off and row my boat for a while on the one river. And when I went after school, after I finished delivering my papers, I could go down to the Red River and sail. And I did these things all the time.
How old were you then?
The whole damn Western world is finished. Everything that happened 2,500 years ago with the discovery of writing, at least phonetic writing, every pattern that developed from that world of the visual orientation of man, all the laws, all the philosophy, all the individuality, all the civilization, literally civilization, the idea of the citizen. Civilization, the idea of the citizen that grew out of that world, finished right now. It isn't going, it has gone. We just have a little aftershine left right now. It's gone. I'm not being pessimistic. I'm reporting something that happened some time ago. It's just we're just involved in a mopping up operation. But the disappearance of the private person, the private family, you can see with the disappearance of the private person, everybody suddenly feels that private ethics are meaningless. And we call it permissiveness. And we don't feel we have the right to punish anybody anymore, because society is really to blame. How can we punish anybody if we don't believe that anybody's responsible for anything? about happiness or about the childhood and so on. When I was a kid, I spent a lot of my time building boats.
Oh, yes?
Yes, I was a carpenter. I thought I was an engineer, and I went into engineering.
Yeah.
Well, we started pre-engineering. He was in the second year of a 5-year course.
These are little iconic juxtapositions of overlays.
So I sat in 4 weekly seminars with him. There are always seminars in which the instructor never quite kept control of the film's tendency to take command. It was very interesting.
These are little iconic juxtapositions of overlays. Pattern recognition. About happiness. Happiness to me is something I am not much interested in, I can tell you that. At no period of my life was I interested in being happy. I was very interested in getting on with what I was interested in. And in practice, that turned out to be a source of considerable happiness, in the sense of satisfaction. When I was a kid, I spent a lot of my time building boats.
He was actually a pretty handy guy. He built, for example, sailboats. I used to have the plans for one of them. It's gone for a long time now, but I remember the name, How to Build a Racer. And when he got to Cambridge, he was a rower.
My oar.
Got into rowing. Well, you can't sail in those rivers anyway. The bridges are too low. There's too many of them.
And we're very close because there's so many things we were reading that we found occasion to argue with, discuss. We went through the Chesterton stage, What's Wrong with the World, a remarkable book, and he picked up L.L. Price. I have it somewhere with his name in it, Bill. Something on economics, an elementary textbook. He gagged at that. Since I was taking economics, I read Chesterton and became quite interested. And then from, I suppose, for over a year, there was plowing through the New Jerusalem, Folly Brown stories, a whole day. Standing arguing on street corners. Remember one occasion. We left some meeting, started to walk home. We didn't live too far away from it. And we were still talking when I noticed the milk wagons going by in the morning. It was about 4. 5 in the morning, and we're talking in that corner for roughly 4 to 5 hours. So I'm completely unaware of time and the genius of Chesterton and his paradox. Beautiful way to put things. And then, of course, disagreeing a good deal on a good many things.
What's wrong with the world?
Tom used to cook bottom coffee for 2 bits. Winnipeg, Texas. And Handy George said, "You'll like this, I think." And it was a real eye-opener. It was a real eye-opener. All right, Simpson is very important person.
So as you live in smaller and smaller space, electrically, why, things that...
Mention, here is a man who knew more about mobile fidelity than any person. Chesterton's essays, anything you ever wrote.
At electric speeds, nothing in the USA makes sense.
Things that man had forgotten long ago.
Hidden ground is destroying them.
Is looking at the new electric as a body.
It's always based on the intense awareness of a public purpose behind it. We always assume that the public is absolute.
But we now live electrically in a non-Euclidean world. The Euclid has been phased out because the eye has gone back into the rest of the sensorium.
His paradoxes are all based on figure.
All situations are made up of an area of attention called figure.
I was not using figure ground in the early time of the... when I wrote this book, I was not using figure ground. Now I have switched completely to figure ground. It was implied in here, but it was not explicit.
Right.
And a larger area of inattention.
Now, the world of the icon is a world of abrupt interface, without gradations, no chiaroscuro. And this is a world that is happening on many fronts. And when you have these interfaces, you have happenings.
His paradoxes are all based on they've always assumed that he never stops prodding, teasing, poking that ignorant much of
erudite.
But his own wit, his own perception, his entire form of development. So that's where I got the fact that this guy, everybody who pays attention to the hidden grounds on the stage of power. Anyway, when the subject came up, what about the pyramids? Did they enclose space? And the answer was no. That the darkness inside the pyramid was to space what silence was to sound. And was not enclosed at all. However, Carl Williams at that moment said,
Kelvin is a high school in Winnipeg, Manitoba, in Canada, North America, Western Hemisphere.
At this point, Carl Williams, the psychologist, objected that the spaces inside a pyramid, even though dark, could be considered as acoustic spaces, and he then mentioned the characteristic modes of acoustic space as a sphere whose center
is everywhere and whose margin is nowhere.
Yeah.
In fact, the old Neoplatonic definition of God.
He deliberately sets up situations that will irritate.
He called it the emotion of multitude.
previously on McLuhan Unclaimed.
I told them about acoustic.
No, that's what I was interested in. I mean, how many thoughts can you cram in your head?
It isn't a question of how many thoughts. The fact is that when you confront the page at that speed, you apprehend it as a gestalt.
Now, that I can understand.
And that is a kind of figure ground, and that is depth.
I never heard the phrase or word in my life. And I have never ceased to meditate on that word. To meditate on that word.
Acoustic space is a sphere whose center is everywhere and whose margin is nowhere. That is physics-based fact about acoustic space. Psychologists don't know that.
Commanded very much by acoustic resonance and interval, not by connection.
And this is one of the strange results of electronic circuitry, everything going on at once.
William Thomas Easterbrook. David Carlton Williams. And Herbert Marshall.
Abrupt interruptions, which permit far more involvement.
McLuhan. For 4 of the 5 years McLuhan attended the University of Manitoba.
acoustic space. Remember our Papa box? Acoustic space has no peripheries and no centers. It is a total sphere without boundaries and without centers.
I have never seen anything. So that was a very great discovery of space, as opposed to other forms of space.
Okay.
You mean that?
I'd like to call myself a UFO. An unidentified flying object with an intellectual world. An unclassifiable verb.
I went back to the house. They stayed with I remember the house number was 314 Roosevelt.
Abrupt interruptions, which permit far more
The
involvement.
house number was 314 Roosevelt.
Abrupt.
They involve their public totally.
Interface.
What did he do?
And he never tired. I'll talk about this all. Childhood. Never heard of him talk so much about the experience of living in Ontario, in Mount Forest. Most of it is in Mount Forest.
Where did his
Well, his
Juxtaposition of unconnected
mother was Scottish. His mother's side was Scotland.
seemingly unrelated parts
So it's pretty strongly Scottish.
sets up a resonance or music
Yeah.
in all these fragmentary poems.
You're Scotch-Irish.
Scotch-Irish. And his father had,
That is very carefully contrived.
think,
It's like Picasso's.
born.
The place where in 1907 McLuhan's grandfather James McLuhan came west to Homestead with his family, including McLuhan's father Herbert.
Father had,
Giving simultaneously by fragment to all sides of an object at the same time.
born.
You do that by fragmentation. But actually it gives a very unified effect, as if you were holding it in your hand.
Always had an intensity to some point.
Did you see much of him?
There was a company of them, Sullivan, Donald.
I always had a feeling that I had something rather important to do. And I think probably my father had something to foster that idea. My father was a great educator. That is in the sense that he loved to build young people up in their own idea of themselves.
A lot of Elizabethan poetry, and particularly Shakespearean poetry. And my father had done a lot of specialized study of Shakespeare.
Billy was quite a psychologist and an enormous raconteur. My gosh, what a raconteur.
He was an insurance.
What a raconteur.
Salesman, I'm a real estate man, totally uninterested in business.
And very, very interested in conversation from morning to night.
Well, presumably he sold insurance.
Insurance salesman.
But he was more interested in talking philosophy with people. He used to sell insurance. He was sort of Irish. I think he was Irish extraction. And a wonderful fellow.
They're much more inclined to pay attention to the ordinary milieu. The ordinary milieu of events never impressed me very much. I think probably my uncle alive and my mother's brother in VA. It's just a lot of say a lad who was going to school in Edmonton, he actually boarded with my mother's father in that house they built in the house. But he was going to high school. And when he was finishing off high school in Edmonton, he was actually living at home with us. I went into somewhere fairly recently. But he's still around. Sister B. Sullivan has been doing a little probing around out in Edmonton, seeking out the places we lived in Edmonton where we had been and so on. And she had contacted my Uncle Ray Hall.
Is she doing biographical piece?
I think all she wanted to do was to establish where the houses had lived in.
I should talk to her. You know, I'd really like to take a trip out west. I know you think that's trivial, but it would help me put the thing together.
Except by chance.
You have those nice folders.
I know, I never look in them again.
Well, that's your problem.
I know.
But the system is good.
I got lots of problems. That's only one of them. Now that, do you want a copy of that?
No, I got it on the tip.
Oh yes. Well, it's handier to have one of those to carry around with you.
Oh, I remember it in my head.
You can't remember.
I'll tell it to you.
In France, all is permitted.
In Great Britain, everything is permitted except what's forbidden. In France, everything is permitted, even what's forbidden.
Oh. In Germany.
In Germany, everything is forbidden.
Unless
permitted. In Russia, everything is forbidden, even what's permitted.
Even when permitted.
And in America, everything is permitted except the knowledge that everything is permitted.
No, except the knowledge that nothing is forbidden.
Well, it's the same thing, isn't it?
Same thing.
So 35 years ago, Marshall McLuhan was speaking to a journalist.
Nina Sutton. I'm an Anglo-French journalist.
Nina Sutton is telling us this story from Paris.
My encounter with Marshall McLuhan took place in the fall of 75.
See?
You have a good memory.
Bravo, cancer rising.
Cancer rising.
Cancer is supposed to have the best memory in the zodiac.
Well, I guess I'm on the cusp 21.
No, you do have a very good memory, but you have
cancer.
a very selective memory.
It is not cancer rising, though, is it cusp?
No, rising is this. If you know what time you were born, I can.
No, I don't.
I could work out what.
I don't. I have no way of finding out either.
Oh, it must be recorded somewhere.
Let's ask Uncle Ray. I have an uncle out in the. Ask Uncle Ray if he remembers what time of day I was born.
No, but where your birth was registered, it should
I don't even know.
So.
I think I was born in a hospital. Yes, in Edmonton. I don't know what.
Then
hospital.
They would know.
I don't know what hospital. All right, we could write. We could write to the hospital in Edmonton when I was. We could ask him where was I born. What and then we can write to the hospital and ask him.
I wrote to the hospital when I was born. Literally.
Okay, no record.
And in fact, I phoned up and I was going to sort of make some excuse for asking for such a silly thing. And I said, can you please tell me what time I was born? And she said, is that for a horoscope?
Naturally.
And I said, well, yes. I was going to invent something about research and some kind of
social effort.
Zeus, who says to his fellow god, Narcissus, watch yourself.
Yeah.
Well, here we are on our little Narcissus chapter.
We're looking at it.
Finally got to it. A quality of urban life.
there on out?
Yeah, staying on the bed for 2 months. After my kids are
Nothing else to stay standing?
I'm not about to 14 Roswell, but some of the other houses are.
Oh, you moved to another house?
Well, we were at 606. We were at a 507 Cleveland. The house I grew up in on Bridget Avenue is still around, and it was a house that actually was occupied by a man who was prospect to Airedale. We were together one night, years ago, and he asked me what street I was going up on. I said, Bridget Avenue. What number? 507. He said, I grew up at 507.
Isn't that neat?
Unbelievable.
How much years your junior was?
Well, I guess it'd be at least 25 years old.
How old were you then?
I would have been 14, 15, 16.
Were you playing alone or?
Oh no, I had lots of, not I had there was always my brother and his friends and my friends on the
He's
same
younger
street.
than you?
2 years younger. They were about half a mile apart.
Did you
We used to play baseball. We had our own baseball team, our own hockey team on the street, and we would enter into competition with other teams and so on in the local competitive leagues. And I was a southpaw pitcher for the Winnipeg Fireflies, left-handed pitcher.
Oh, you're left-handed?
I'm left-handed, and I was taught right-handedness, so I got crossed up at that point of my schooling. I was shifted back into right-handedness, which I think has probably had some strange effects on my life.
Yeah.
But
that's like making you into a literary.
Yeah.
And she didn't care much for father.
And it was easy to hate Dad.
But I've never, my mother and father didn't get along very well, and this was some kind of education because to my brother and myself it seemed perfectly obvious to us that they were infants, hadn't grown up, and that they didn't know how to get along with anybody really, and they were just immature. This.
Morris was much more inclined to pay attention to the ordinary milieu. The ordinary milieu of events never impressed me very much. I always assumed, I could feel this very strongly, I always assumed that it was something that I would shake off and leave behind. I never felt that it had any meaning for me. Yes, I saw a great deal of my father. He was a very sociable man. Always felt, many, that the immediate milieu in which I existed, whether in Winnipeg or elsewhere, many hours, was a kind of group, Morris and me, a kind of accident that was absolutely important.
She carried the burden of the family, and she didn't care much for father.
And it was easy to hate Dad because he was so permissive.
He was also a fiddler, one of the great fiddlers in Ontario.
Phil to test his heart. Marshall was, of course, keen to always see more media. It was fodder for his publications, and also he was genuinely interested. And it so happened that Fiddle Dee had a fiddle score, and that fiddle score fascinated him because his father had been a fiddler. And so for the first time ever, I saw the defenses drop, the academic part drop, and him talk about how his father really loved to fiddle and how he really enjoyed this music for that reason. So that was quite delightful, and I have very clear-cut memories of that for that reason, and of the rest of his family enjoying it. It was like an upbeat memory for the whole day.
Oh yes, it was one that belonged in the old tradition of fiddlers. We have his fiddle, much in demand.
Fiddle is a more folk instrument, and it's shaped close to a violin, but a fiddle traditionally comes from the Irish-Scots tradition of which Marshall's father came, and so, as you know, Mac Lewin means son of Lewin or son of Luke or whoever, and he was very familiar with the tradition, and of course, having been to England for his college years, he knew the fiddle as a folk instrument, even though it's next of kin to a violin, which is a much more serious instrument.
My mother was not, well, she played the organ, piano. But in a modest degree. She read music. She had my brother and myself musically educated as far as we wanted to be.
Did you learn instrument?
Just in my case, just the piano. My left-handedness had something to do with making a poor subject for musical training. My brother was just a handful.
You're left-handed?
I'm left-handed. And was taught right-handed, which is not entirely an advantage of me. But my brother is a gifted musician, whereas music didn't come easy. My mother was a very gifted actress and performer.
Your mother was an eccentric, wasn't she?
No, she not eccentric in the ordinary sense. She was a very public figure. But she put on scenes of Shakespeare. I was constantly reciting Browning, Tennyson, Shakespeare around the house, preparing me for the stage all the time. Yes, she was an elocutionist, again trained out of Boston by Alice Leone Mitchell from the Emerson School of Eloquence in Boston. Hello. As I say, her mentor in elocution and acting and so on was a Boston lady from the Emerson School by the name of Alice Leone Mitchell.
Right.
Paradoxically, my wife came from the antagonistic school of W.C. Curtis, who ran the rival school to the Emerson School of Speech and Acting and so on, is Curtis. My wife is a product of the Curtis School, and my mother of the Emerson School.
Is Corinne an actress?
So Marsh met her, and I guess it was love at first sight. They've always been very good together.
I met her at the Pasadena Playhouse, where she was acting.
Terrific.
And that's how I was out studying rhetoric at the Huntington Library, and at the same time that she was at the Pasadena Playhouse. My mother was at the Pasadena Playhouse, studying play production. Had gone out there for that purpose. She met me, introduced me. So the Curry School and the Emerson School met at the Pasadena Playhouse. But it was an amazing conglomerate.
That's amazing.
But my mother's cultural aspirations were unremitting.
Let me know when we can come in and enjoy the living room, okay?
Come on in now. They were unremitting. And she was a person of tremendous energy and gifts. And you can find out a lot about her from my wife. Liola Kelleher. Liola Kelleher is I think still a teacher here in town, or ballet or something. Anyway, she taught me ballroom dancing. I was 13. And she was a friend of my mother, and she's in the work she's doing now because of my mother. Mrs. Tyus is in her work because of my mother. My mother was a great teacher and had very enthusiastic pupils. So those are two. Both of those people have always wanted to do something about my mother, to write a memoir or something of her. So it would be a godsend if you would help them to put together a memoir of my mother. And I don't get Tyus' first name, but I have the phone number. And Liola Kelleher, whom I ran across only a few months ago, 2 or 3 months ago. I didn't realize she was in this part of the world at all. Anyway, they lived on the next street over. She had a dancing school, so when I wanted to learn some ballroom dancing, I would learn some lessons with her. I remember it was quite thrilling.
I should get those numbers from you at some point.
Oh yeah.
Get those phone numbers.
Liola Kelleher and I forget the Tyus' first name, but they're both old students of the club. And tea and so on. They were part of the big movie. A whole bunch of them. My living guys, what do you want?
But I've been in an audience, and I guess 1,000, she held me out on the whole floor for 2 to 3 hours.
Anyway, practical criticism was based on this dramatic idea of performing my father had been brought up performing.
The artist uses whatever he can have to get his hands on, language or colors or anything.
So when he got there...
Go to Cambridge, that's where they have the best English school.
She said, if you know how to use your voice, you wouldn't be tired of it.
She was a big one-woman theater, Trans-Canada. She gave annual concerts across Canada. She was a play director as well, and a great Shakespearean. But she could put on whole scenes from Shakespeare, playing all the parts.
It's been quite an extraordinary
She was a professional elocutionist and dramatist. Yeah.
What was your relationship with her?
Oh, well, she always took an interest in my studies, and she was a very literary lady. And she used to, give recitations of all the poets you ever heard of.
Oh, well, wasn't she disappointed when you took up engineering?
Those in an extensive farming area.
He headed back west because he had friends back there, and he also was palsy with my mother's brothers, both of whom were in the army. But her father,
that we used for
her father had a farm near Winnipeg.
we shine in our faces.
So they went back to Winnipeg. They stayed with, I remember the house number was 314 Rosedale.
Wasn't she disappointed when you took up engineering?
I don't think so. Because my idea of taking up engineering was so I could have enough money to become literary. I never dreamed you could make any money by being literary. So I deliberately went into engineering to make enough money to live on.
Yeah.
So that I could do what I wanted to do, namely read.
Write books.
You say that Gladstone was at Confusion Corner. I've seen an aerial photograph of it. It's where Confusion Corner streets now all intersect at one point in. The earlier incarnation of Gladstone School was all the streets went around this island of land, and on that island of land was an elementary school, so kids from any direction approaching it would have to cross many lanes of really busy streets. Have a reason. Okay, so you say that Gladstone was at Confusion Corner. I've seen it rename Osborne Junction, where Confusion Corner is, McLuhan Junction, simply because that's where he went to school.
I became aware of what the church claimed to be. Now, I had no religious belief at that time at all. I was an agnostic. But I finally decided that if the church is what it says it is, you are also told how to test that hypothesis. What's wrong with the what?
Tom used to cook bottle coffee for 2 kids.
It was Rimbaud's phrase, de règlement de tous les sens.
Yeah.
This is the job of the artist, to upset you, to keep you off balance all the time. And this is what I do. That's my job.
Call yourself an artist.
In that sense, yes.
Yeah.
My approach has to be used if anybody wants to get hold of anything.
Winnipeg,
And he failed grade 6, so his whole sort of rebellious attitude was kind of happened there, where he's just like, I don't believe in any institution. They're failing. Winnipeg, classic Winnipeg. You gotta love where someone in Winnipeg was like, this McLuhan kid's not gonna make grade 7. Kind of Pembina at Osborne, McLuhan Free, like right parallel next to the rapid transit. That should be called McLuhan Stretch or McLuhan Curve, or I don't know, McLuhan something. Call a cartographer, I'm sure they can come up with the second part. It would be very good.
I have this connection between Confusion Corner and McLuhan in his...
What do you call it mostly? I call it Confusion Corner.
The point of view is like it has a vanishing point.
And that's what I'm getting at, is that
Yeah.
there's no vanishing point in the environment that
No,
your dad grew up
on the prairies, no, there isn't any.
Read and find that it means to guess. The light that we use for penetrating these problems, we shine in our faces. In other words, we're blinded by our own knowledge. What prevents us from penetrating the world of ignorance is our knowledge.
Yeah.
We turn the light into our face and say, I cannot see a thing. Now, if you turn the light around, you can do it with the mass media. That's my whole point, that with the instantaneous media, you don't have to shine this light in your face anymore. You can use the ignorance of millions of people to solve a problem. Instead of using your knowledge, use their ignorance. Now the point is this, that all the great discoveries in the world are made by ignorant people. Good point, says.
discover the Gladstone was at Confusion Corner. I've seen an aerial photograph.
That's when I was 6 years old, or 10 years old, or 12 years old. I would make these statements at dinner table. I always had ways of seeing that had been unconventional. As a small child, was told at the dinner table over and over again by my father, would you get up and say that to a group of men?
Of course, because you said things like
yes,
what?
because unconventional things.
Like, can you remember?
No, because I was only 6 or 8 years old.
Do you remember one of them?
No, I don't remember a single one. But they would be, they're no more outrageous than the statements I make today in my books. They're back.
In other words, you're perfectly aware that you're being outrageous.
Of course. I'm perfectly aware that most years old. But I would say, of course I would say it to a group of men. Naturally, why not? It's true.
I have never ceased to meditate where the problem is.
Be using the eye as an ear. Yeah. I always quote page 14 of the Anchor book. That always impresses them, when you quote the exact page. Yeah, yeah. But I have a memory for page numbers.
But I have a memory for page numbers. It's funny.
You do?
Yeah.
It's the Kensington numbers.
That could be.
Do you know your famous quote? You want the essence of a book, read page 69 or 98.
Oh, no, I 96. 69 is 96, and they're complimentary, you see. 69, 96.
Hello. Hi, Marshall. Hello, Tony. Happy birthday. Well, thank you. Do you keep a list of those? No, but I saw it on the news today. Oh, my gosh. You're a public figure. Oh, gosh. I'll send you this article that was done on the Carter and the Media in Sunday's Times. The whole issue was on that. Oh, gee. So I'll send you a copy. Is it the magazine section? Yes. Sunday's Times, and the article that refers to both of us is the one by I forget. One second, I'll get it and I'll tell you. Hold on. Yeah, and they quote you, Jimmy Carter's a personification of Marshall McLuhan's cool image. Not surprisingly, the Canadian Oracle is another fan of the president's video persona. But Mr. McLuhan was also among the first to warn of the dangers of playing with the cool fire. Citizens of the global village can be burned by television, even presidents and presidential advisors. Yeah. That's what they say. Anyway, he says they use my book as the Bible down there in the White House. Well, good.
The mind, remember, works much faster than electricity.
Eric Goldman on the program The Open Mind.
The speed of light is very slow compared to the speed of thought.
Professor McLuhan said that you don't discover...
Literally. The speed of light is not a fraction the speed of thought.
In your experience, because having been close to
You see, I moved away from the scenes of my
and never to see them
childhood.
After, say, certainly not after the age of 16 or so, never to see them again.
So I don't think about them anymore.
Strange experience.
Didn't even look you up when you became famous and said, I need 500...
Your life is continuous, then your friends are not continuous.
Being an academic, I assumed that I was
They move.
I was a churchman.
But in fact, it impoverishes everybody's life. Cuts you off from all
Never run into many of your questions.
memories.
No, indeed, I have not.
And all friendships. Cuts you off from all memories. And all friendships. So the people I went to school with,
Winnipeg being so far away.
I never see. I never have any way of
people don't
judging
want to go back to Winnipeg. They often leave Winnipeg, but they don't go back.
how they developed.
Changed, yeah.
How did
That they would never draw on local talent for anything that they wanted for exotic effect. The natural. However, who cares?
I never see them.
No, I often
think about certain individuals and wonder what they might have become years later. Some of them, like
I don't even remember the names.
Bill Hahn,
But this, I think, is a great loss.
became general manager of Eaton's. And there was Dr. Guy, I think he became a judge. There was Alfred Tucker, I don't know who. Bill Ogilvy, Charlie Munson, so on. I cannot imagine what they ever became.
The progression from the tribal through the East.
And it would be very strange to run into any of them in their new roles and new situations.
To the
but this, never to have had the experience of meeting your own
West shall shake the East awake.
Schoolfellows, as it were, never to have met them again when they were grown up.
While yet you have the night for
Is
more.
a weird gap in anybody's life. I think it's now normal and accepted.
Really is.
And I think it means that your human experience is very truncated, very, very fragmentary. Your ability, therefore, to assess the potential of anybody in front of you is very limited.
All news is
You've not watched the whole process.
Continuity.
The whole.
Right. I see exactly what you mean. Would you remember? Right. I see exactly what you mean. Would you remember any of the people you knew who you went to high school with?
Oh,
High school sweethearts and all that sort of thing?
Oh, yes. Remember, some of them are living in Toronto, but I never see them either.
fake.
Who would they be?
Oh, well,
All news is fake.
it's just, I just happen to know that there are a number of people here in Toronto, but I don't know their, for example, Gwen Cox is married to somebody whose name I don't know, but she is. Peggy Ord became Mrs. Bill Morton, and I guess he's Professor Trent. He's head of this department. He's a well-known Canadian historian. But she was one of our immediate, almost living 3 or 4 doors away on Girdwood Avenue when I was growing up.
It's pseudo-event. It's created by the medium that is employed.
But there are very few. I have actually run into her. It was at one of these things at Queen's Park, one of the receptions, big state receptions.
Right.
Bill Martin was there. But it is a strange experience. And something which I think mankind has taken for granted all through the centuries is for North Americans is rare. They're so damn mobile, get around to them.
What did your father do after the war?
After that, he went into the insurance business, eventually, but I don't know what he did initially. I think he was in real estate. He was in Edmonton, he'd been in real estate.
He'd been
real estate.
Right.
Among other things, meant leisure.
The word school means leisure,
And,
schooling.
So, persons who go to school are really people who don't have to work.
Understand the language and grammars of
On
men.
the other hand, we have increasingly tended to turn the classroom into a place of work.
You went to Cambridge University, right?
The undergraduates at Cambridge were appalling.
Among others.
Naturally, there were a few bright ones.
But not any more than in Canada.
No more than in Canada.
You don't have an agenda.
You went to Cambridge University, right?
Among others.
That means you completed school, right?
I completed several schools.
Oh.
I did 2 PAs, 2 MAs, and 1 PhD.
Well, why? If you say school should be bypassed.
Because I regard it as utter leisure. Among others.
This was the Broadway campus of the University of Manitoba in Winnipeg. Today, no one of the citizens is aware that this is the origin of the Winnipeg School of Communication. Among its members, Samuel Don Ichi Hayakawa.
Go down to the Red River and sail.
1,000 people there, and so someone asked McLuhan, what do you think of the Hayakawa conference? So he said, well, I'm sure it's fine.
Irving. Goffman, William. Ormond, Mitchell, Rupert Clendon.
And you remember the Irishman who said, seeing a brawl going on, sure, and is this a private fight or can anyone get in on it? And the Irish do enjoy a fight.
Lodge. Horace Noel Fieldhouse. Henry Wilkes Wright writes, "The moral standards of democracy is the 168th of 168. Here is a quote from the 1925 book. And these agencies themselves are extensions in the physical world of those bodily organs of intercommunication and personal association possessed by every human being."
I find them very exciting things to investigate. They are, as you know, parts of our own bodies, enlarged and extended to create human environments. Any technology is a part of ourselves acting as a new environment.
A man who may have subliminally influenced McLuhan. More than any other professor in the young man's life. Henry Wilkes Wright and these three guys, Thomas Easterbrook, David Carlton Williams, and Herbert Marshall McLuhan. For 4 of the 5 years McLuhan attended the University of Manitoba, he would walk over the Osborne Street Bridge to attend classes taught by Lodge, Fieldhouse Wright, and others at the downtown Broadway campus, currently invisible. He would walk over the Osborne Street Bridge to attend classes taught by Lodge, Fieldhouse Wright, and others at the downtown Broadway campus, currently invisible.
Hey, someone please join in. We're answering a question about this guy.
Marshall McLuhan, the guy that hall's named after.
No.
No, I have not.
Have you ever heard the phrase, the medium is the message?
Have you ever heard the phrase, the medium is the message?
No.
What about the global village?
No.
Have you heard of Marshall McLuhan?
No, I haven't.
The medium is the message.
Somewhat.
Yes, I think I've heard of it before.
How about the global village?
No.
Have you heard of that phrase? I've heard that phrase, yes. Okay, cool. What about the global village?
Ever heard of the phrase the global village? Yes.
You see, we are living mythically, but we still try to think rationally in the old 19th century pattern.
For example, that just as we record the history of our inner lives on our faces,
Man sitting in chair, there was no man, there was no chair. It was just how did it feel to be sitting in a chair?
Is the old Renaissance book religion versus new software masquerading as mystical body itself. Go fast before John gets here.
No, he's supposed to be here at 11:30.
Whereas today, with the advent of a software electric environment,
all of these things, it seems to me, profoundly relate to the rosary and to the church and the mystical body.
I'm doing a book called The Second God.
Yeah, and is there any relation to the first one?
The implications of this will just be absolutely revolutionary. I mean, the magazines and the media and all that took them over. I mean, let me give you an example of the sort of no think, no balls stuff that went on in the 60s. I think it was at the same time that this conference was going on that we all met. Newsweek magazine wanted to do a cover on Marshall. So they invited him to the high church lunch on the top floor and all that kind of stuff. And all the guys that headed the departments came in, and he had to do his, dog and pony show and things like that. I was there.
But our lives are actually conducted at mythic.
Find things by deduction, though.
Oh, yes, but not. Big things, but little minor things.
Speeds and multi-levels of things happening, many levels at once. As in a myth. The amount of work that our children have to do in just looking and being in their environments, fantastic, exhausting. We're moving into the age of paid entertainment. We already have forms of it. Well, I'm going to wind up right away. Let me say, though, it's a simple equation. The more successful any business or any operation, the more invisible it is to itself. Father John Culkin, a friend of ours in New York here, has a way of putting this matter. He says, we don't know who discovered water, but we're pretty sure it wasn't a fish.
Tony, what's on the tapes here is the real Marshall McLuhan. We can throw away the books because we don't need them. All that's in the best of what's in the books is in this room. And unquestionably, Tony and I will sit down in the next couple of days and talk about taking what's in this room and making it available again. So that the next time Marshall McLuhan appears as the new comet on the horizon, all the pieces will be in place and all the stuff will have been hacked away that would slow down the meteor, you know.
You couldn't hold back the press. You can't hold back television.
I'm not saying to hold it back. I'm simply saying study what it is.
gather at the river, the beautiful river. Yes, we shall gather at the river, like the flow, like the flow,